We're broadcasting, and there's the channel live show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and
Dungeons and
Dragons!
D.
I am Christiana Ellis, and I am the Dungeon Master. Our players tonight, Jenny Meltzer as Zaleen.
I'm I'm in jail though.
Yeah, you're still Zaleen, though.
I know.
Or are you? Have you become a different person since you've been inside?
It's possible, like my attitude probably completely changed.
Starla Hodgson as Carolina Swift.
Hello, friends? Friends?
Paul Fisher as Zinhorn Windborn.
What a chance to meet new people and make friends.
Mark Kilfoyle as Nedry Shiny Rock.
I wonder if they're going to serve snacks. Oh, I'll need lots of paper, too.
And James Meltzer as Wuta.
Uh, don't drop the soap. I don't know.
So, as everybody is referencing, in the last episode, the Pocket Protectors made their way to the secret midnight meeting at the library, only to discover that it was a very narrow opportunity to be brought in peacefully, which, when it was not accepted immediately, turned into an ambush. And so Nedry's mentor, the Abjuration Master Argus Fenster, had been already basically co-opted by the Empire, or at least persuaded to try to bring in Nedry and his friends peacefully. It didn't happen peacefully, but ultimately the Pocket Protectors were taken prisoner by the forces of the Empire, and there was some negotiation to suggest that there was a peaceful surrender. It was clear that they didn't want to kill you; they wanted to take you in alive, but it was a lot of difficult and stressful negotiations because they were taking precautions that didn't feel good, and ultimately, all of you were manacled, gagged, and then basically marched towards the teleportation circle, at which point you were all teleported back to Pashan and brought to holding cells there in the somewhere in Pashan. I think it's not entirely 100% clear where you are. But Wuta, when you last were seen, everyone had just sat down to dinner at a nice little sidewalk cafe there in Emirate Arboris, and they had just brought out the food when you disappeared. And when you found yourself coherent again, you were in a dense forest, and it was populated entirely by talking animals. And not humanoid animals in the way that you are a humanoid owl, but just regular animals like deer and rabbits and squirrels and so on. And they were having a very complex political dispute over whether it was ethically responsible for them to hide their ability to speak from the humans in their world. How did you advise them on this matter?
Oh, I advise them to just, let it play out, just be yourself, don't let anybody judge you. If you want to talk, go ahead and talk. That's your right. Don't be scared. Just,
They're just worried because they had kept it secret for so long that it just felt like it is weird now to start, right? Like, what's the first thing you say if these people don't think that rabbits can talk? What's the first thing a rabbit should say?
yeah, I say just, keep doing what you're doing. You know, if it's gotten you this far, then you know, don't worry about it. Just be in your own little bubble. If you don't want the humans to know you talk, then it's all okay. What's the, what would be the point in letting them know you could talk? You know, just have your own little society here, live your lives. You know, if you find yourselves in a situation where you need to talk, then go ahead because it'll scare the crap out of the human and you can run away.
Well, as you have now offered them almost entirely contradictory advice, they're very confused. But there is a big moment where there is a hunting expedition, and the animals have decided that they're going to finally say something, and they arrange in this big circle where all of a sudden these human hunters find themselves entirely surrounded by a perfect circle of a variety of forest creatures who are all perfectly still watching them. And then finally the rabbit hops forward and says, and then you flicker out and you find yourself in a holding cell with Zinhorn.
Hey,
Yeah. So Zinhorn, you had been in this cell by yourself, waiting to be brought in for your turn to be interrogated. Uh, you had been promised that if as long as you cooperate, this is not, you know, this is, you know, they just want to ask you questions is all. But
Okay.
you're in basically an all stone room. There is a window, but the window only opens onto like a little narrow hallway where you can't see through the window to anywhere that isn't also locked up. Like it's in it like a little there's sort of like an airlock sort of thing, like where there's a locked door and a little hallway around a corner, and then the room you're in. So you can see through the door, but only to this second locked hallway. But now Wuta has suddenly appeared in your cell.
Am I still
No,
bound and
you
gagged?
no, but you do not have any of your stuff.
Okay.
you
I
all
mean,
went and got in trouble without me, didn't you?
but yeah, where'd you go? What'd you
Uh,
do?
you know
You're
what?
back.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
I give him a hug. Um,
Oh,
let me
okay.
catch. Let me catch up. Let me catch up. Let's see. There was a meeting with
So we're gonna
Nedry's
cut
master.
away
Yeah,
while
yeah,
Zinhorn
yeah.
catches Wuta up. But what we're going to do here, as you are each subjected to this interrogation, is we are going to follow the model of many a movie or TV show and do this montage style. Instead of having every single person answer every single question, we're going to be cutting around. So the implication, and you should all perform accordingly, is that everybody is getting all of these questions, but not everybody will actually be answering every question on stage. However, just encourage you to think about how your character in total isolation would answer these various questions and so on. So I think first and foremost, Zaleen, uh, you are sitting in this room. You've been brought to a room where there are two comfortable chairs and a wooden table that has an iron ring sort of like drilled into it so that, like, you know, chains could be run through that presumably, but you are not currently bound. As you are brought into this room, you there's a pitcher of water and a glass, and the person who escorts you there asks if you would like some refreshment as well, like some food.
No, thank you. I'm okay.
They nod and leave, and then coming into the room is a human man who looks to be maybe in his early 50s, but he's got salt and pepper hair, uh, and wearing like it's leather armor, but it's almost looks a little bit fancier, like it's almost ceremonial armor. You suspect it would be functional, but it doesn't look like it sees a lot of actual like battle use necessarily. But he comes in and he sits across from you and just says, "Hello, Zaylene. My name is Nelson Devereaux. I am also known as the friend of the Emperor. And we've been wanting to talk to you and your friends for quite a long time."
Yeah, I heard that.
I am sincerely sorry about the necessities that were required in the manner of bringing you into custody. This was not the way we wanted to have it done, but we did have some serious concerns, and our initial forays towards negotiation and conversation had not met with promising results, and unfortunately we felt it was necessary to act sooner rather than later. But I do apologize that it went down the way that it did.
I understand that. I think that the people you have going out and doing these collections, like they need a lesson in manners for one thing. For another, I think that if somebody had just come to us the very first time here in Pishon and said, "Hey, we'd like to ask you guys some questions," instead of saying capture them, maybe we wouldn't have run away.
Well, in the matter that you're speaking of, our first attempt to communicate with you did actually result in the destruction of a major building here in Pashan. So, while we're on the subject, what do you know about that? And
It
I'm
was
I'm actually sorry. I'm gonna cut away. So I need a better signal. So maybe like when I'm asking a question that is going to be going to the next person, maybe I'll like hold up my hand or something like that. Uh,
okay.
so, but yeah. So, Lynn, you've just been asked about what do you know about the building that collapsed into mold.
Should unmute first. Well, I don't actually know that much. All I know is that we came in willingly and we were going to sit down and talk about something about the train station. This was a very long time ago now. Seems like forever. But so we were sitting there and it was all fine. And then suddenly somebody walks in and throws this, was it like a pot or something at us? And like stuff just starts growing everywhere. So we had to run or like, die.
So, would this individual be someone known to you?
I'm trying to remember who they looked like. It was somebody's assistant, I think.
So I mean, it did look like the person
Yeah,
who
yeah.
like
It,
showed you
it
in.
wasn't actually that person, but
Well,
I'm
right.
trying to
So,
remember
but
whose
that
form they took.
yeah, it was just one of the assistants to the
Mhm.
person you were there to see.
Um, well, see, that's kind of a tricky question because I don't think it was actually who it looked like. Because I mean, there's magics that can, transform how a person looks and everything like that. And but this person was the person that we were there to see. It was looked like their assistant and sounded like their assistant, but it was very obviously not that assistant because that assistant didn't was perfectly nice and didn't try to kill us. And then all of a sudden, here they are trying to kill us.
So, did they say anything to you, or they just started throwing mold, as you say?
Well, they made some threats and told us to leave and not talk to anybody. And I'm trying, it's like a year ago now, trying to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they made some threats, but like the choices they gave us, it wasn't really a choice. I mean, what were we gonna do? I mean, we were there of our own volition.
to Nedry, what is your connection to the individual known as Percival Cankers?
Player forgets if I've heard that name before, and I don't have time to look it up. Was that a
So
name that I was given or not? I don't remember.
I think that it's. I'm just trying to remember now because I kind of thought that you had, but I'm trying to
I-
remember when it would have been
We
because you
we
certainly
might have
got it
only heard that like
as
at
the
that yeah,
investigators in
the
the roll
one
for shoes.
shot.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it may be
roll
that you
for
don't know the
shoes.
name. So as a player, you know who I'm talking about, but maybe Nedry wouldn't know the name. Is that what you were
Okay.
getting at, or?
Well, as the player, he's also forgotten. But
Oh,
if Nedry
as a
doesn't know,
player,
maybe-
it's the adversary.
oh, okay.
Yeah, the
Well,
guy who threw
I'm
the
not
mold around
familiar
and
with.
yeah. Sorry.
I'm not familiar with that particular name. If I had my notes, I'd be able to more accurately check. I haven't been able to index all of them yet by name, but it is a task that I'm trying to build.
Well, according to our records, you met with this individual on not one, but not twice, and not, but rather three separate occasions. Now, it seems like some of those occasions were not formal, friendly conversations, but it does seem like this is a person that you have encountered.
Well, that narrows it down somewhat. We have been traveling and meeting a lot of people, but not usually the same person. Um, Maybe if you could remind me of one of those particulars, I should be able to retrieve the rest of the
Well,
details.
at least one of those encounters ought to have been somewhat memorable, as according to our records, they had hired a pair of halfling assassins to kill you.
Oh, oh, what did you say the name was? Percival Cankers. Oh, I wish I could write that down. I'll try to remember it. Um, I believe you may be referring to someone that, well, whose name we did not know. And for the purposes of um, more accurate notes and for recall, we had referred to as the adversary. Someone very opposed to, well, a great number of things, but it was never entirely clear. Essentially, someone who seemed to oppose the research that we were conducting. Most angrily, in fact, and has in fact tried to both with those assassins and on other occasions tried to harm us considerably.
Mm-hmm.
As it was, they took something of ours which was very valuable, and the player has just forgotten that whole damn incident, but remembers that vague point about it.
uh, the what the that they stole the circlet? You mean? Or
Oh, that was it. Yeah, that's what I'd forgotten was
yeah.
exactly what that was. But yes, one of the objects under our scrutiny.
Right. So, to Zinhorn, your understanding then was that you were there at the administration building to answer questions about the incident at the train station. Now, uh, we have come in our investigation to understand that you and your friends recovered something from a stone vault in the train station floor. Can you tell me more about that, please?
Um, Actually, well, we went under it, so it was in the ceiling, but it was also in the floor for the level above. But we were working really hard not to damage anything, and then once we got into it, this these things came out. They were like automatons with like really sharp um, razor parts to them,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, they just set about
He
attacking.
He flips a couple of pages in his folder and he shows you a sketch of one of those things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yes,
got it.
we
That's it.
recovered a couple of those. So tell me though, other than those things, what did you find in there? And for that matter, what were you expecting to find?
Uh, we were, um, I guess you would say, in possession of a guy who I think is now that we've like done all the research, we call him Tanglefoot. He was part of the Reclaimers Academy. He got sucked into Nedry's magic bag, and there are anti-magic cells, and he got stuck in one for it's like 60 years or something, 70
Hmm.
years. And he I mean, like, he wanted food, but like he doesn't eat like normal people. He took the food and it just kind of like crumbled to ash on his hands. Anyway, I wanted to kill this guy because he just like you could just smell the evil coming off of him. Like, I was just going to stab him through the bars.
Hmm.
Just like totally evil. I had no doubt whatsoever. It turned out this guy is probably the guy that cursed me and caused me to become an orphan. I mean, like, we found out all of this stuff. But anyway, he wanted this book that was in that vault. And he said, put it in his hands, and he would tell us everything.
All right. So the next question here is actually for Wutai. It's like, so, sir, my first question for you is how you came to be in that cell, given that you were not with the others when we took them into custody.
You know, that's a very good question, but really, how is it that any of us came to be anywhere in this world? It's just a mystery.
Well, some things are less of a mystery. Like, for example, I slept last night in a cot on an airship because I was on my way back here from where I had been previously. And then when I got up, I had some breakfast, and then I came on down to this building here where I began these interrogations. So sometimes
Ah,
not so much a mystery, but it sounds
ah,
like
ah.
you could give me a little bit more of your story, too.
Well, you see, the real mystery is what happened when you were asleep. That's a mystery.
Well, it is true that I cannot personally verify this, but I have it on good authority that I lay in my cot all night because my bunkmate says I snore.
Look, I get it. All I can say is that I just met these people. Look, anything you want to know, I'll tell you. I don't know much, but for me personally, I just have this way of like bamfing in and out of places. And
Mm-hmm.
ever since I hooked up with these people, I've been sort of connected to them in some way. I don't really know how. But this room is stressing me out a little. Do you think we should get some open air somewhere? I mean, I'm
Well,
feeling a little
okay,
claustrophobic
now,
right now.
I okay, well, if you can just hold on, we're working on that. We're going to need to finish some of these interrogations first, and in particular, I am fascinated by this ability you have to uh, flip in and out of wherever, because the cell that you appeared in is, I'm told, one of our top of the line anti magic cells. It should not allow any kind of magical teleportation in or out of that room, and yet,
There's a mystery.
indeed, you don't have any particular light to shed on this?
Oh, I don't know. I pop up in some of the weirdest of places. Look, I've heard animals give political discourses. I've heard little midgets rise up and slay their captors. I've seen wild horses walk on two legs, and it's just a gift, I could guess you could say, or maybe a curse. I don't know.
So, next question is for Zaleen again. Now, we have records of several of the other members of your group and where they came from, who they knew, where they lived, and so on. But for you, it seems like we don't have any record of you at all prior to the events at the Reclaimer's Mansion. Can you tell me a little bit about how you came to associate with this group?
I mean, that's a really good question. You've got a lot of good questions.
Hmm.
The thing is, I have no idea what happened before I met them. I mean, I know that I have this really strong bond with my mistress, and I'm sort of like, I don't know, her. I don't want to say puppet because I kind of have my own will, but like, I don't know, she guides me, and
This
I'm on a
mistress,
mission for her.
could you elaborate who is your mistress that you're referring to?
Oh, yeah, the mistress of the dark.
Oh, all right. Well, that he takes a few notes. All right then. So, you didn't really answer my question about how you came to associate with this group.
I mean, I woke up and or something, and there they were at the Reclaimers Academy, and I guess I was there too. I don't remember anything from before I opened my eyes.
Interesting. No, nothing
Mm-hmm.
at all before that.
Nothing.
Hmm.
I mean, sometimes I have weird dreams, and like in the dreams, there's like sort of allusions to things, but I mean, that's just dreams. I don't know. I mean, it's weird because like I don't know. I don't even really sleep, so having dreams is a bizarre thing anyway.
So, to Lynn, so how did you encounter your friend Zaylene at the Claimer's Mansion? How did that come to
Hmm.
to be?
Well, it's a little. Nedry's probably the better one to ask about this, but do you know anything about like pocket dimensions, or how time can sometimes get trapped in like its own little loopy bubbles, that kind of thing?
I know bit and more every day the last couple weeks.
Mm. Yeah, it's a lot, so much, and yeah, only been a couple weeks. It's crazy. But so we go into this place and it's like this haunted house and there's like all these shadows trying to, kill us and attack us and like dust monsters and stuff. And so we go through this whole place and we're seeing all these flashes of memory. It's like this big cloud of, dark energy swirling around and killing all of the people that were in there. And then we get to the very top and there's another big dark thing and we fought it and we killed it, I guess, or something. And then suddenly Zaylene was there. Like she just like fell down out of the sky almost. It was so weird.
Mm-hmm. To Nedry then. So how was it that you came to visit the Reclaimer's Mansion in the first place? I have it under some, that we're looking into the contracts because there's some funny business there. But it would seem that your so-called patron, Yolbert Relent, has come to own the mansion, which comes as somewhat of a surprise to the Emperor and myself. So, how did that happen, as you understand it?
Well, I can't really speak to the complications of contract law, especially when magic is involved, because it seems to be transcending normal operations. But as far as I understand it, the contract itself, the ownership of that particular building was magically enhanced, perhaps cursed. Curse is such a generic word. There were additional clauses that were added, which were magically activated at the point at which we encountered the previous owner, who was eager to transfer the ownership. At that point, we owned it, but since we were working for Yobert, it made more sense to transfer it over to him in the end.
So, what was it, though, that led you towards the investigation in the first place?
Mark wishes he'd read his notes because I honestly forgotten. It's
That's
been so
okay.
long. And if I had reread my 3 volumes of notes, I would know the answer for that. You
Uh,
should give me a hint because I think it will come.
yeah, so I mean, the gist of it was that so you had found the letter from uh, uh, Ellister,
Ellister.
right? And one of the leads in there was one of the professors at the university, who
Right.
some of the details there said that like some of that was like what related to what all happened at the Reclaimers Mansion that time back. I believe that
Okay.
was how you were on that trail originally.
So probably Nedry would take a deep breath
Mm-hmm.
and he would start to relate the tale of Ellister and how that led to the clue and how that led to the place and how that led to. And so there's like, it's like He was looking maybe for a simpler answer, and he started practically at the birth of the universe.
So I think there's a point where he says, "If I might just ask you to hold that thought just for a moment," and he goes and he like knocks on the door and he leans out and says, "Yeah, can I get a shorthand transcriptionist in here? Thanks. Yeah." And so now there's a second person in there like taking notes on what you're saying because you're talking so fast.
Actually, at that point, Nedry would side eye that person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to be alarmist, but do you know that that's actually the person you think it is? I've had some experience with assistants being replaced before.
Oh well, tell me then. I have some reason to believe that this person is genuine. He looks at them, but tell me, how would you go about finding out if this is actually an imposter?
Oh, well, I'd simply check their mind to see if they were thinking they were themselves or thinking they were someone else.
Aha. Well, you have the one of the spells that allows you to read people's surface thoughts. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I've managed to master it more or less.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm afraid we don't have capacity for that here in these rooms because for safety reasons, we keep a lot of dangerous individuals here, which at the moment we're just saying we're that's where we are, so we can't use that spell. So what else would you recommend? Should I ask him what he knows? What do you think? What the imposters you have encountered? How did you discover their identity?
Well, there were a couple of things, not least of which, of course, was reading their mind. It's very difficult to shield thoughts from me, if I'm determined to find them out, that is. But also, the lines of inquiry usually ended up with some sort of demand, usually related to Denethor one way or the other. Oftentimes demanding sort of complete cessation of research, which is itself a ridiculous proposition, but also usually handing over whatever we research to them for either destruction or their own purposes, which doesn't seem like a really rational thing to do, given that we know they also do rather damaging and destructive things. So it doesn't really seem like a logical conclusion, and I doubt their research credentials really in the matter. They seem more intent on burying research than following it.
There was one word in all of that that seemed not like the others to me, and that word was Denuther. But
Ah, yes.
but now I'm asking. Now this
Mhm.
is to Zinhorn. Uh, so tell me what you and your friends have discovered about Denuther or Dawn's Tear.
Okay, well, first, we got to start with the warning because everyone who learns about this thing winds up getting nightmares. And to date, I'm the only one that can get the nightmares out of you. And then you have to fight the nightmares. And like, it was so cool. We actually pulled a nightmare out of an ancient red dragon and fought it. It almost killed the dragon. And like, so I'm going to ask you, like, I know this is an interrogation. You want all this information. You need all this information. It sounds like you already know quite a bit of it, but have you been having nightmares?
Well, we'll get to me directly, all right. But I think
Then I,
first of all, so
it just,
when you say you're the only one who can do it, please elaborate on that.
um, we found this thing that was like a simulacrum. I don't know the right word. It was like an illusion, but it was like real. You could get hurt of an auction. And there were items up to be auctioned, and one of them was um, a pipe, and the pipe. If the subject is willing, I can blow smoke out of it and um, extract the nightmare from
Just a
them.
quick point of order. Was the pipe something you were carrying on your person, or was that in the bag? Or in the tower, for that matter?
I think I keep that on me.
I thought so. So I think when you
Yeah.
say the pipe, he's going to check his notes and it says, "This is the pipe that we found in your possessions when you were brought in."
Yes.
So this pipe is something only you can use.
Um, I mean, like, I'm the only one who has used it. I attuned to it. I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's a unique object, so I don't know if that attunement can shift or not. But to date, I'm the only one who has used it
Mm-hmm.
for this purpose. I don't know if someone else could attune to it or not, but it's obviously extremely valuable if you're uh, tracking down these nightmares and trying to get rid of them,
So
freeing people.
now to Wuta. So, Mr. Wuta, I know that you have been with this group only recently, but tell me about this tower they have.
Well, you ever heard of Heroes of Legend?
Well, I wouldn't be very good at my job if I had not.
Right. Well, you know their bard cat. He had this spell he could cast where he could just create a mansion, almost like another portal, and they could go into it. The
Mm-hmm.
tower's kind of like that. It's just kind of like another pocket dimension that we can all just go into just to
Mm-hmm.
get a little R&R hideaway. It's something like that, from what I gather. I haven't been in it all too often.
So, who then currently has the capacity to unlock this tower?
I honestly don't know. I think all of them do, as far as I reckon.
Mm-hmm. Uh, just as another point of order, I'm assuming, Zaline, that you left it locked to anyone that was not you guys. So, uh, back to Utah. So, when you have seen them use this tower, they go inside it, and it is normal sized when they are inside, and it's only small to carry it around.
Yes.
Well, I do see how that would come in handy.
But I
Now,
could be wrong. I honestly, I might be just talking out my ass, to be honest with you. I'm just
mhm.
going by kind of a little bit of what I've seen of this group. Because like I said, I haven't been with them all that often. I'm not saying I'm giving you wrong answers, but I'm not necessarily saying I'm giving you right answers either.
Well, so I understand that you're doing your best. So, but the next thing that I'm a little curious about is we had some reports of all of y'all's activity in elemental plane of fire. I heard there was an incident with a red dragon and the like, but what I'm really curious about right now is where y'all went after that, because it seems like y'all were headed towards the city of Brass and didn't ever make it there.
Oh, yeah. I blame Zinhorn for that one.
Oh, do
That
tell.
boy, that boy just heard a noise and we got drawn into some kind of weird bazaar. Like a bazaar, like a carnival type of thing.
Uh
You
huh.
know, yeah, it was just it was a wild scene, man. There was saxophones and shirtless men playing songs, and there was like it was just whoo, crazy.
Hmm.
It was
So
like it was like somebody took all the spice in the world and snorted it and decided to start a carnival. And it's just everything from the imagination you can find in this one place.
was this another one of these pocket dimensions that y'all seem so expert in locating and navigating?
I guess I don't rightly know if it was a proper pocket dimension or not, but I don't know. I mean, you could hear it on the plane you were in. You could see it on the plane you were in. So whether that makes it a pocket dimension or not, I don't really know.
Hmm.
I'm just saying that it seemed to be something like that. Yeah. Can I
I
get a Diet Coke?
I don't know that we have that particular variety, but if you need a cold beverage, we can accommodate you. How
All
about
right.
some lemonade?
You're a Pepsi lover. I get it. Okay, fine.
So now to Nedry. tell us about this bag that you've got. In some respects, it appears to be a bag of holding, and yet uh, our arcanists say that it's got a whole lot more going on to it.
Oh, indeed. It's a very, very old, I suspect. Um, you're not entirely familiar with the Denetherian legend, so this might be a little bit over your head. I'll probably need to do this with charts at some point. Anyway, I'll try to summarize and
He
try
gets up
not
and he
to
knocks
overwhelm
again
you.
and says, "Can I have a chalkboard brought in here?"
It is a most extraordinary creation. I don't specialize in item construction or deconstruction. I've studied it a little bit. It has space inside for accommodating unwelcome guests, I guess you might say. Several cells which are directed to be anti-magical, created, I believe, by Izeld, although I'm not entirely certain about that. Even Izeld herself is somewhat uncertain in many ways. Her creation seems to be somewhat abstract in the moment. Nonetheless, it does have several wonderful features. I do recommend that people don't play around with it. It does have a sort of trapping mechanism for those who are not already attuned to it. It has served as both a refuge and as a containment center for a while. The entity known as Tanglefoot, for example, had been trapped in there previously, and it was beneficial to leave him there until we unfortunately made a decision to try to use him as demonstration of a problem that was happening. That did not work out as we planned.
Mm-hmm. So, just as an aside, I'll mention to you that that is, of course, the reason that we took such extreme precautions while taking you all into custody is because when you're dealing with magic, things can get away from you pretty fast. So, once again,
That's true.
I apologize that there was some rough treatment involved, but that is, of course, why we were being so careful.
I sort of understand now. I mean, I didn't realize the depth of your ignorance before, so I'm really eager to help.
Well, I I certainly have a lot more questions for you.
Oh, I love questions.
Next to Zaleen again. So tell me, after the events in Gorn, you all traveled to the mountains, the Barrier Mountains, where you found the observatory. And
Right.
tell me, what was it that you were, uh, what led you to locate this place, and what were you hoping to find there?
I mean, a dragon helped us get there. I wasn't there for a lot of it because the mistress kind of like pulled me away and I was missing. I don't know how long it was, but Lynn was really upset about it. And then we were there and there was like a Bigfoot there and we got attacked by this big, like, I don't know, weird nightmare bird thing. And I mean, I think we were going there to figure out why sequential was broken because he wasn't working right. Like he just sort of went into sleep mode and he wouldn't wake up. And it was weird. Like, since I guess that's where he was made or they were made. I don't know. That's where we went because we thought maybe we could find some way to, I don't know, get them turned back on and right again.
So yes, sequential. Now, sequential was the living construct that was traveling with you.
Yeah.
Now we do have a record that he was, associated with a gnome who operated out of that location for a while. We've discovered some of his notes and such there at the site after y'all vacated the premises. Let's say. And yes, we certainly can verify that there was a big nightmare bird. We encountered this creature.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we tried to hold it off as best we could, but, you know,
Mm-hmm.
once we got inside, we couldn't control it anymore.
Yeah. So, tell me, while you were all down there in that observatory and the various levels beneath, Tell me, what was it that you were all hoping to accomplish with all the machinery down there? Because by the time we were able to get our arcanists down there, they told us that much of it had been destroyed and that the power source had been shut off.
Well, I mean, it had been a long time since anybody had been there. I mean, I know that Sequential's his creator or whatever was probably the last person there, but before that, I think it was Rupino, and like everything that was in there, Rupino designed with, you know, all kinds of weird things that only Nedry would probably understand because he's really good with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I don't know. They wanted to be able to see if they could, I don't know, see Dinuthier or something. I don't know. That thing, I think it was like a telescope or a weapon. I don't know. I don't know a lot about that stuff. I mean, sometimes I don't even know why I'm here.
So, next question is for Lynn. Tell me what you know about Rupino.
Um, well, I've never met him. I think it's a him. Um, he's definitely connected to this Denethir stuff. Um, and he makes a lot of magical things. But yeah, I've never met him, so I can't speak to his character or anything. So if you're asking me those kinds of questions, I don't know. I mean, I hope we could be friends someday, but I don't like know if he'd be open to that kind of thing.
So, am I to understand then that all you know about this individual is from the notes you found at the observatory, or is there? I'm getting the feeling that there's more to it than that.
Mm, well, like I said, I've never met him, never spoken to him. It's my understanding that he made the tower that we stay in, and he has really excellent taste in hats.
To Zinhorn. Zinhorn, we found uh, in the possession of your party a gemstone that appears to have a person in it. Can you tell me what you know about that?
Um, yeah, trying to remember the guy's name. He was one of the people with Rupino um, who sealed off Denethor, um, to begin with. We don't know how he got into the stone. That simulation where I got the pipe, we also got the diamond in there. And there's also, like, I believe, a true resurrection spell in there, and using the spell will release
Mm-hmm.
the guy. I can't remember his name. Um, anyway, I think, oh, I think I can't remember if it's the dead guy, um, or if it's the guy in the diamond who was like the staunch. We have to destroy all of this guy. Like he and Rupino used to be friends, and then they got into a fight. I'm confusing the two of them, but I
Well,
don't know
okay,
which one I'm
so
talking about.
tell me about this dead guy. When you say the dead guy,
So when we were in that simulation,
where
I
was
think
this, by the way?
I think it was in the tower.
Aha, the tower again. Okay.
Yeah, and so sequential like tried to we were trying to figure out how to get the items out of the simulation.
Mm-hmm.
And sequential, I think it was sequential, wound up in jail, or maybe it was Nedry. I can't remember. Um, but anyway, they were in jail, and this guy had been stuck there in this simulation, and like the simulation restarted every day, and they gave him food, but it was like not very nutritious, so he kind of went insane, and we were like, we didn't know he was there, but it was either Nedry or sequential that was in the cell with him, was like promising that we'd get him out, except that he at some point he just kind of tried to overpower the guards, and they killed him. And I've been keeping him in a state that we could resurrect him since then because we're not sure like if he's all sane or if he's got a nightmare in him. And like these dudes were super powerful, like they sealed off Denethir, the Donstier from the rest of the world for what, like 60, 80 years, something like that. And so like we've been like trying to figure out what to do with them and with Isolde. And like we got this whole pack of like nearly dead, some actually dead, trapped people, including Tanglefoot, and Tanglefoot got away. That was really bad. Like I said, evil, like seriously evil, like not even hiding it evil. Um, anyway, if you run into that guy, you watch yourself and like I would attack first with everything you have.
Well,
What
so
was I saying? What was the question?
I think actually at this point we're going to kind of fade out of this individual interrogations, and you will each find that you are brought to sort of through some of these like long narrow hallways into a larger room that has a couple of like benches around a table. Like it's not fancy or anything, but it's places to sit and everything. And you find that each of you are all brought there together, and you are now together, but in still in this area where there's no magic. It's anti-magic field in here. But you're brought in there and told, if you'll all just sit tight, Mr. Devereaux will be along shortly, and he imagines that you all have some questions for him as well.
Hey guys, look who's back.
Luca, we need to get
Wait.
a collar with a bell on it for you, man.
Where did you go
Yeah.
this time?
Oh, this time? Oh boy. It was a whole political discourse between some talking animals. It's just crazy. I'll tell you about it sometime.
Oh, I really need to put a map together.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea.
You put a little red pin in every pocket
Little red
dimension you
pin
visit.
in every little place I go. Oh
Yeah.
wait, but I don't really know where the places are that I'm popped over to. So
With a bit
I
more
don't-
recall, we might be able to determine which planes you've gone to.
yeah, maybe.
Speaking of recall, does anybody know how long we've been here? I mean, Nedry was in there like what felt like forever, but I know how Nedry does. He was probably explaining everything, which I mean, no offense, Nedry, but it takes a long time sometimes.
Well, there was a lot they didn't know. Well, there's still a lot they don't know, really. They kept asking
So
mostly
you
the
don't
wrong
have to tell
questions.
them all of the things.
I mean, they don't need to know about the creation of the universe, I don't think.
I think it's relevant.
But
They were
that
asking-
doesn't.
They were asking me questions about your tower thing. That's really all, and about the places I go, about how I bamf in and out of places. But yeah, they were asking me questions about your tower thing. I told them.
Also, just everybody kind of take for given that you were asked lots of questions that we just didn't show.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was trying to gauge like more like how long have we been here?
Oh, yeah. It's not that long. Since you were first brought in and put in those cells, it's been maybe 24 hours, but not longer than that.
Hey, at least I get to take a little bit of a meditation there while Nedry was talking, though.
It really would have been
So
much
the whole,
faster
like
if I'd
8
had my
hours of
notes.
rest.
So, if I'm not mistaken, you all know who this is that took us captive.
No, yes, sort of in name only, and not
Alright.
even really his name before now. So,
Oh yeah, I mean it's the friend of the emperor. That's who was looking for us there
Yeah,
with
Devereaux.
Evan, who had Evan looking for us.
I'm convinced that at least the one that called themselves the friend of the emperor was genuine and not the adversary.
How do you
Based
know?
on the vague looks and confusion that he displayed, I would expect the adversary to know more.
Well, that doesn't mean that he's not beyond acting.
Plus, the
True.
adversary is like crazy, Nedry. I mean, he was all
I was just
deformed
concerned,
and
like they're not
Well-
going to try and kill us, are they? Like we're not going to have to fight our way out of this. Is that it?
Well, I hope not, but like, have we forgotten that there are beings which we have come into contact with that know how to change how they look and do not have the best intentions?
True.
Just saying.
Although they don't really ask stupid questions.
Is there
Well,
questions? you
one
can
of
ask
them we didn't give them a chance to.
what was that? What we
Is there questions that you can ask them that only they would know the answer to, so you know this is who they say they are?
No idea what kind of questions those would be.
All right.
I mean, I don't know. He seemed to know a lot about, where we've been in places that, the friend of the emperor had been pursuing us. I mean, he knew about the weird nightmare bird thing. And only somebody who had been there would know that.
To be fair, it was really large.
Well,
Yeah.
but wasn't the adversary also there? Just saying.
It's true.
Yeah, but he's
that's-
crazy.
He was looking rather disturbed last time I saw
Yeah.
him. I'm not sure he could maintain such a facade for a long enough time.
Uh-uh.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he would be asking these kinds of questions. Like, I think he knows the answer to a lot of the questions that we've been asked.
That's what he wants you to think.
Yeah. All I gotta say though, Nedry, I love you to death, but no more midnight meetings.
I honestly thought it was a proper test or actual help.
I
Hey,
How many
think
does that make now? Two,
Two.
three?
I think
Two.
so. At this point, the door opens and Nelson Devereaux comes in again, and he kind of just says, "Well, now I hope that eventually here you will come to see that this most recent midnight meeting was a blessing in disguise, even if it did not go the way you hoped at the time." So, I want to thank you all for your indulgence in answering all of our questions. I imagine that you have some for me as well. Now, I hope, given that your circumstances of you being brought in were less than cordial, but I hope that you will agree that absent our anti-magic precautions, that you have been well treated since your arrival.
I would really like my loot back.
Yeah.
It's not
And
magical.
paper.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like somebody needs to feed Buster. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, we really need to feed Buster.
Oh
So,
no.
what I'll say is, if nobody said anything about Buster, they don't know about Buster because he's in the tower and they have not gotten into the tower.
I didn't say anything about it.
Nedry
I
wouldn't have
Unless
thought
they
of it.
directly asked. Nope.
They gave me a soda.
Well, so and then in that case, there's like,
Can we
well, then
retcon the last 60 seconds?
I,
Yeah. No, I mean, I would say that out loud. I don't know what you guys
Okay.
said, I
well,
don't know.
so I hope that very soon you can tell me all who Buster is, but let me try
Never
to
what.
establish here what I'm trying to get at is that I'm hoping that from this point forward, what we all have is not an adversarial relationship. I hope that we can come to a common understanding and perhaps even common purpose. But feel free at this time to ask me whatever you like, and I will try to be as candid as I can.
What do you want from us?
Well, what I'm hoping in this particular case is that your expertise can be put to good use in helping us to save lives and protect people and solve magical mysteries.
Is Friend of the Empire inherited or an earned title? Is it something you received or something you were granted or something you achieved?
Or were you guys like friends when you were kids?
Oh, I hadn't considered that.
You asked me several different questions there. What I'll go ahead and say is It is an unofficial title, but I did earn it.
It can be a very scary title, I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, it certainly is. It's a bit of a weight that can be used in a variety of ways.
So, what exactly is it that you need help with?
Well, one thing is we lost a lot of people in that building that disappeared into mold.
I
And
really, really tried to save as many people as I could, and I'm so sorry. I felt so
It's
bad
true.
that not
I mean,
everybody would follow me. I tried
it's
so
true.
hard.
She like ushered so many people across that bridge and was just helping everybody
some,
all the
some
way.
tears
well,
starting to form in my face. I'm so sorry.
so how sincere are those tears?
Very
Because
sincere because she
okay, yeah,
really,
I was
really
just gonna
feels
say
bad.
because like I believe it. You really did do that. You weren't lying. So I was just curious whether this was a little bit of a put on. But
No, 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 no. It
okay,
haunts her.
yeah. So let so I think that that is not precisely a question, but it leads me to a question that you should ask, which I'll go ahead and answer on your behalf. Uh, the answer is no. I don't think you are responsible for the disappearance of the building. I believe you when you say that this individual showed up uninvited and caused that to happen. Now, our records suggest that this is an individual known to us as Percival Cankers, is a local weirdo and troublemaker who has
It
been,
is a terrible name.
well,
Ugh.
you know what? I didn't name him, so, you'll have to take that up with his mother, I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, it kind of describes him. I mean, he is cankerous and nasty.
Well, yeah,
Really hard to get rid of.
it is true that we have, in fact, in the past, had him in custody and did not keep him due to his generally unpleasant to be around nature.
What do you know of him? I've been wondering what the adversary's, well, circumstances were, how he came to be so dead set in his ways.
Well, we don't know all that much about his backstory because up until recently, he was the sort of person who gets rounded up when you go round up the local weirdos and troublemakers, right? But he wasn't someone who was thought of as dangerous
Hmm.
until recently. But we
Yeah, you're
have,
gonna want to revise that.
yeah. Well, no, we're ahead of you on that matter, and so it is our matter of record that you were attending that meeting where you were to be answering some questions about the train station incident. Now, when we heard that that meeting was taking place, we had some interest in asking you questions as well. And so we had some people coming to try to piggyback on that interview. But
Now,
that was interrupted naturally.
yeah, but at one point, the people in that interview left, and we overheard them after they had left, basically saying, "Well, somebody said, go back in there and lock them all up." And so we were getting ready to run when this tankers guy comes in and says, like, give us all your stuff and stop pursuing this. And we told him to go pound sand. And then he threw this thing on the floor, which eventually
Yeah,
ate the whole
yeah. So
building.
I
So no,
think,
no, let me finish. Like, why did you want to lock us up?
well, it was not something that we asked for. Here's the issue that I think you may be able to appreciate, at least to a small extent, is that sometimes when you are working through secondary individuals, the message gets garbled a little bit. So, from our perspective, what happened is that we contacted the people you were there to see and said that we would like to speak with you and to keep you there until we could do so. And it sounds
Insight
like
check.
they took it upon themselves that that meant that you were to be treated like criminals and locked in. That is not our intention. Now, it sounds
Insight
like.
check.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
before it gets too going, I want
Uh-huh,
to make it
yeah.
inside check.
Can we make that a Zoom reaction so that you can just do a Zoom inside check?
18. Okay.
Yeah.
I think he's not lying, but you do think that there is like, it's not that so you get the feeling that he's telling the truth when he says they didn't tell these people to lock you in. But it's maybe true that he thought that was a possibility and didn't clarify it, right? Like it was more a matter of like, make sure they don't leave. And I will leave that to you so long as you know that you should ensure that happens. I didn't tell you to
Right.
lock. I didn't tell you to lock them in, but
He's shifty.
yeah. So yeah. So he says, now it sounds to me like what happened here is that we had questions for you, and there was some confusion. And then the confusion was turned into an emergency by the intervention of this Percival Cankers, who decided to disintegrate an entire building or something of that nature. Now, that is something we will come back to in a moment. But let me reiterate that it is not our thinking that you were responsible for that incident, other than the fact that you were connected to the individual we do believe to be at fault. And connected only in the sense that he seemed to think that you were someone that he needed to pay attention to. He came there, he spoke to you before he did it. That makes us interested, but that's not the same thing as believing you to be guilty party.
Wow.
Okay.
So, did you actually determine the magical nature of the weapon that he used? I'm very curious. I was never able to figure that out, and there wasn't really much of a chance at the moment.
Well, it's funny you say that because we were rather hoping that some of you might be able to help us with that very thing. Because as much as it appears from the outside that this strange mold just ate away at the building until it was nothing, some of our arcanists believe that it may, in fact, have not disintegrated or consumed it in any way, but rather was actually transporting it a little bit at a time into one of these pocket dimensions that have apparently gotten so popular of late.
Oh, that is super weird.
So
Yeah.
we might be able
Huh.
to rescue those people.
Well, that would be
Possible.
nice, wouldn't it?
Well, that is what we do.
You,
Well-
oh, never mind. You can't give him a card. They took it. Never mind.
I'd
We
give you a
have
card, but
yes, we understand. You know what? I'll have the evidence people set one aside so that when we return the rest of them to you, we will have the one.
oh,
So you're going to
abs-
give us our stuff back eventually?
We are. If
Okay.
you would be willing, we would like to kind of go through it inventory wise and learn a little bit more about some of it. But it is our intention to return it to you so long as we have come to an agreement.
Some
What
of
kind
our
of
understanding
agreement?
is
Amenable
highly
to that?
theoretical.
But what kind of agreement before you mean to anything, though?
Well,
Well, that's a good point.
yeah. So, one would be we would certainly appreciate your assistance in determining whether or not the people who were in the building at the time could be retrieved, and for that matter, if the building could be restored as well, as a secondary consideration, of course.
it has now become my top priority. Just mentally saying.
Well, so that is one thing. The other is that there's been several instances since then that, although we have come to our current understanding, it was not always clear to us what had happened. And as a result, we found you to be persons of interest and were following you in order to try to determine what your intentions were, where you were planning to go, and if such an incident might happen again.
Well,
And
you
so
could have
we
just
have been.
asked.
Did it
Following is
never
very
occur
clear.
to you to
I said the same thing.
contact the elders at the Church of Rashama and have them talk to me?
Well, as it happens, we did speak to Father Wilfram, and he recommended to us that we contact you directly. And then when we did, you indicated to us that you were not interested in cooperating.
Mm-mm.
I think that was my bad.
I tend to react harshly when I think I'm being threatened.
I can
And
understand that, and I'm not trying
and
to be
you
accusatory. I'm just trying to give you an explanation and answer to your question.
are?
If you ever want to find me, all you really need to do is just reach out to the Mistress of the Dark and she will guide you to.
I'm
Well,
just saying, there's a reason I hand out business cards, like
yeah.
point of contact. It's me, person.
So, sorry, I'm just getting a text message here while I'm trying to play a game. So please forgive my distraction. Uh, so just to kind of put the finishing touches on this, to a large extent, the aggressive nature of us bringing you in is regrettable, but under the circumstances, when we had attempted to reach out, those attempts were rebuffed. And we believed you to be possibly extremely dangerous individuals dealing with powerful magics that were very dangerous. And so we believed that we needed to take the appropriate precautions, but we were very insistent that we must speak with you. Now, having done so, I have come to believe that you are not traitors nor terrorists.
Well, no.
Kind of a relief.
You know,
Mhm.
Does that mean
Well,
we can go?
the part of what makes me the friend of the emperor is that I'm good at making those kinds of judgments about people, as opposed to individuals who are, for example, just told to bring you in at all costs. Once again, not the words I would have used, but sometimes that means they choose their own methods. Now, you know, you mentioned that they needed to get a lesson in manners. Well,
Yes, sir.
to be sure, uh, I think that some of their tactics were perhaps necessary under the given need for precautions when we're dealing with powerful magical individuals, but they didn't need to be mean about it.
I
No,
would
you know
also.
what that guy said to me? I told you.
Well, so we can imagine that, unless you want to
Yeah.
do it now. I mean,
No,
I'm
no,
just saying,
no. I mean, I'm saying that I would have told him like
Yeah.
while we were
Mhm.
in the interrogation because that
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
my big point of focus.
Well, you know what, Zaleen, if I may just refer to you first name basis here, I will see to it that they give you a personal apology if that is what gets us to a place where we can work together.
Okay. But he has to mean it.
Well, I cannot guarantee that he means it, but I can guarantee that he will say the words.
All right, that's good enough for me. Because he'll feel humiliated, probably. That'll be good. Yeah.
Oh, I can guarantee that as well. Now, that said, it seems appropriate in this case. But to reiterate, as a first step, as a, let's call it, probationary or trial period, uh, if you can help us out with this building, we very much appreciate that. But I'm hoping that this will be just a stepping stone. Because as we discussed in our conversations with each of you, there's a lot of mystery about this place Denethor and all the people that came from it and their various magical bits and bobs. And it strikes me, as someone who has the Empire's safety at heart, that a lot of that stuff is bad news.
I agree. Most of it is.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's mostly misunderstood, but the real problem is that someone wishes to do something wrong with it, which is more or less what drives us, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Protect people. I mean,
Yeah, help
some of the
people,
stuff that we've
heal
gotten
them.
has been so powerful that like we don't even want to use it.
Mm-hmm. 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 Well, so I understand, as previously said, why you maybe felt like you couldn't come to us. But what I'm hoping that we can offer as our side of this arrangement here is a degree of authority and resources. For example, instead of having this incredibly dangerous magical artifact being carried around in a pocket, we can put it in one of our anti magic vaults where it will be protected instead of subject to theft or accidental who knows what.
Mm, I mean, I don't know. Like a lot of times we study it and stuff. Like Nedry, and he does a lot of research, and I think it's important for him to maintain the things that he collects. I mean, he can be trusted.
Well, they're all parts of a larger
Hmm.
puzzle, after all. Also, the interaction of any magic field with some of these items might not go as expected. In some of my discoveries, they seem to be of a different kind of magic altogether, one
Mm-hmm.
not frequently used in this part of the world, I'd imagine.
Well, see, this is part of what I'm talking about here is that obviously in your research to date, you have discovered quite a lot of things that we would be interested in learning more about and figuring out whether this stuff represents a threat to the people of the Empire. And if so, we can do something about that.
Well, I
And
mean,
if
anything can be a threat if, in a large enough quantity. Just saying.
Well, this and the like threat scale. I mean, those little creepy crawlies that came out of the little sealed vault under the
well,
railway station. Those were little threats. The tower that Rupino built had the ability to destroy like three-quarters of the prime material plane.
well, so he had actually been kind of laughing and getting ready for another point, but then when you say that part, he's like, "Yeah, one of my people said that that was a possibility before it got shut down. So I guess I have y'all to thank for that." But I also just want to kind of make the point here that when you say threat scale, uh, y'all haven't been in Pashan. You didn't get to take the tour when we brought you back here. We've been dealing with some stuff, and we believe it to be all related to this. And so, part of what we are looking for when we say to eliminate stuff's the threat is, for example, the cause of the strange magical storms that are causing bleed through between the various planes.
Hmm.
Oh, I've
Mm-hmm.
been
Weird.
rather wondering what the
Did
effects were.
did did it take bites out of the ships here too?
Oh, well, it has done all kinds of things.
Oh.
Hmm.
Mm.
Do you have a catalog of the effects?
Not on me.
Oh, but there is one. That will help you. That will be a useful start.
Well, if you say so. I'm just thinking that it seems to me like it was a laundry list, and that ultimately looking at a laundry list is less important than figuring out where the washing machine is.
You haven't known Nedry for very long, but let me assure you that laundry lists are like his favorite thing.
All right. Well, so that's the point is
Do I need to do laundry?
the point
Probably.
is that the Empire could use your help as people who are more knowledgeable than most about the strange magical storms and phenomena that are currently impacting the city. We would like your assistance in this matter.
Okay.
All
My
right.
question is, are you going to compensate us, or is this just in exchange for our freedom? Because we were actually being compensated by our patron
Yeah, well, so one thing that I don't want this to play as any kind of an ultimatum or anything of that nature. This is not a threat. I'm trying to just be very straightforward with all of you. But as a part of all of this misunderstanding, your patron, Lord Relenth, did fire upon several of our Imperial airships. Now, again, I'm not holding that against him. I know it was all part of the misunderstanding that has been the story of our relationship up until now. But it is also something that we have to resolve. So helping him come back into the fold would be helpful as well. And I'm not saying that there's no compensation at all, but I would also say that there is perhaps uh, just between you and me, there's a little bit of value to be found in just cutting through the red tape rather than tying everything back up with contracts and rates and such.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we have to buy food and stuff like that.
Well,
Like, we
that's
go places.
exactly the sort of thing that we can easily provide for you. Now, again, I'm not saying there's no compensation. I'm just saying between you and me, I have an informal title. It's how I like to do things. So rather than putting you on the imperial payroll, I think we can find other ways, is what I'm saying.
Just for the sake of conversation, what if we said no? I'm not saying that we will.
Hmm.
Just am curious.
Well, I think that at the very least, many of these extremely dangerous magical artifacts that y'all were in possession of are things that ought best be in the possession of the Empire's team for investigating such things. Now, if that team included you, maybe that's your possession. But, I mean,
Honestly, I don't think some of these things should be touched by anybody, but nobody asked
That's
me.
just an
well,
argument
all
that
the
we'll
more,
continue to have
all the
forever
more
with
then
Nedry.
that perhaps such things shouldn't just be carried around in your pocket while you go to dangerous places.
Well, sometimes it's hard to know who to trust.
Yeah, well, no, I get that. Yeah, that's why we're here.
Hmm. The only concern I have is of the timeline. I do sincerely want to investigate and hopefully help out where we can with Bashan,
Mm-hmm.
but we were trying to get to a destination which we believe would also give us more information to deal with. And there's also a concern that Tanglefoot might be making other strides,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the adversary for that matter. I don't
Tanglefoot
think that they're
and
directly
and
connected, though.
Hmm.
Tanglefoot and his ilk like to their whole mission is to infiltrate places of power and or influence and cause as
Yeah.
much chaos as possible.
No, believe me, I was absolutely listening to that part of your story, and it is a concern to me, which, between me and y'all, is once again a reason that if I had my druthers, I'd just as soon you keep off the books, officially speaking.
I think that might make work a bit better.
It might, and also I think it would. I mean, I don't know. I'm worried that Tanglefoot is going to try to get to the Emperor,
Mm-hmm.
He'd already
and
embedded himself in the Reclaimers Academy.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that was how many years ago? Decades ago.
85? Is
Well,
that right?
it's interesting that you mentioned that name so much because, certainly our records had indicated that Ranger Tanglefoot was considered among the dead at the Reclaimer's Mansion back when that all went down. Now, I believe you what you're saying about this individual because they did not recover a body, but that was also true of several of the others presumed dead at that site, given what happened.
Well, it occurs to me that it's entirely possible that an individual such as the one we came to know as Tanglefoot was not originally Tanglefoot.
Yeah.
A
Well, that would
working name,
not
if anything
surprise
else.
me. Certainly, there are many magical means by which that can happen. So, here's what I'm offering. Once again, this is not an official job offer where you're going to sign a contract and get paid a salary and wear a nice, clean, fancy uniform. All right?
Oh, good, because I don't like uniforms.
You really are
Well,
talking about my laundry.
Prestidigitate him.
so, in the interest of ensuring that we do not have such infiltrators here, I would be absolutely interested in whatever means y'all have of ferreting out these sorts of imposters or infiltrators so they can be avoided. Now, we have a lot of lines of protection between the average Joe and the Emperor, but there's
Ancient
also a
Red
lot of stuff
Dragon.
that happens between the Emperor and the average Joe, if you follow me, right? There's a lot of people in between. And
Yeah.
it doesn't take someone getting all the way to the Emperor to make things happen.
I have discovered a spell which will help to discover nightmare infection or corruption. It's not exactly sure which term is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had the chance to really use it a lot, and but it seems to be effective.
So we have arcanists on our payroll here. If that is a spell that you could allow them to transcribe and learn on their own, then that is a test that we could begin implementing on our personnel here.
I think so. It's quite complicated, but they should be able to learn it in time.
So, if we're not like officially under contract, how would anybody know? Like, if we found something and we needed to, like, say, talk to somebody or get in somewhere, like, how would they know that we're important enough to be able to go in those places and speak to those people? Like,
Well,
get like
Ooh,
little
could
badges or something?
I was gonna say, can we have a badge that says like friend of the Emperor?
uh,
I like friends. You can never have too many friends.
here's the thing is that, part of the nature of having an informal title is that I don't necessarily have a bunch of pre-made badges that every random person you're going to talk to would recognize.
Well,
But
I'm just
what
saying
I
a way
can,
for us
no,
to, yeah.
I hear the concern. The concern is that you're going to run into future trouble with people who don't know you're working with me. Well, what I can assure you is that I had already been at the apex, so to speak, in the effort to locate y'all. All right? Now, that meant everyone was reporting up to me in the first place, letting me know where you were, where you were going, all of that stuff that we knew. I knew because people told me. And the word, up until a couple of specific instances, was just watch. Now, I'm hoping that moving forward, it'll be just watch, but with the benefit of you and me being able to have the occasional conversation.
I don't think I have any problems with that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
sounds
work that we're
workable.
already doing, right?
All right. Now,
Yeah,
now I want
he's
y'all to
supporting the work
understand
we're already doing.
that this offer is taking place because I consider myself to be a pretty good judge of character. And speaking with all of you, I am persuaded that you, like me, want the best for the people of the Empire. Want
Well,
people
all people,
safe.
really.
Don't want people having their memories stolen by bizarre shadow monsters. We don't want people falling out of the
That
sky because space squids eat their engine, their airship engine.
Yeah, that
Right?
happened to us.
That was shrimp. That's weird. You guys had squids here? Wow.
Shadow monsters?
Oh,
Eating people's
and more.
memories?
There's a lot going on. For the as we spoke about, we had a whole building with a couple hundred people in it turn into mush. But
Hmm.
we have a hope that that area currently cordoned off might, in fact, be a place that could be investigated further and recovered by a freelance team of experts in pocket dimensions.
You have experts.
That's us.
Right, of course.
Now, the conditions, of course, to this whole arrangement would certainly be that we maintain regular communication. We will be keeping an eye on you. That's not every minute of every day. But we would ask you that you carry on you a couple of specific items that we can use to scry when necessary.
Oh, do you have another pair of sending stones? Because I was carrying those before.
Yes, yes. We can provide you with such a thing. And of course, we would ask you to let Lord Relenth know that he does not have to keep flying over the ocean forever. That seems like just no fun for anybody involved.
You can guarantee that his safety and stuff.
Yes. Assuming that he and the crew that he's got out there in that flying castle are as cooperative as y'all.
Well, you're not gonna harm Sunya, right? She just learned how to fly again, and I'm so proud of her. But
Well, I'll be honest with you. It was not great when they were firing cannons at our airships. I was on one of those airships. It was not great when one of the cannonballs hit it. But
I don't think that she meant to be hurtful, though. I mean, she's
well,
so
no,
sweet.
I understand. Like I said, as we've established, we've got a lot of water that have gone under our particular bridge, right? It's gone by, but that doesn't mean, we can forgive without forgetting, is my point. Okay?
Mhm.
So, my thinking is that if you can persuade them to not shoot at us, we can send some airships to escort them back here and guarantee their safety so long as they don't fire on us.
well, I'm very good at persuading people, so I think I could probably manage that.
And then, of course, obviously, if there's more magic storms, we have no control over that. I
Right.
mean, that's what we're working on, right?
Yep.
So, to begin with, before we get started on this little project, do we have? Can I just get, like I said, I don't put things on paper, but can I get a handshake agreement on the general terms of our arrangement from everybody here? If you have more questions about it, let me know.
Can
There are
look
always more
around
things
and
to know.
Yeah.
The Nedry is always going to have more questions, and I'll just stick my hand out.
Yeah,
He never,
me
he
too.
never runs out of questions, but I have almost run out of money. So, yeah.
So, uh, he shakes all your hands, assuming that you all offer, and says, "All right, good then." So, I'm going to go ahead and bring y'all with me down to the next level, where we've got our evidence inventory. It is mostly anti-magic like here because as previously established, y'all had a lot of strange and possibly dangerous magical items, and we didn't want to mess with them too much, especially if there was a possibility y'all might just be able to show them to us.
Okay.
It's probably safer if less interesting to
Yeah.
pursue that way.
So I would like to imagine here given that everything that we've just talked about and the tone of everything, perhaps a fun montage of everyone kind of showing off their various magical items and like what they are and what they do.
I think one serious moment before we leave this room,
Okay,
Nedry
yeah,
would
no, absolutely.
sort of beckon to the friend to bend down so he could
Mhm.
speak in his ear,
Mhm.
and just whisper, "But really, watch out for the nightmares. They can be really bad. And let us know if you or anyone close to you have one. They're really awful."
He looks to you, and there's a moment where like this kind of the smile that seems always on his eyes, even when it's not necessarily on his mouth, kind of grows a bit more serious, and he says, "Believe me, I have nightmares enough already. I don't need more. So, here's the other thing I'll tell you, young Mister Shiny Rock. Um, your friend Argus certainly cooperated and attempted to bring you in, but I'll tell you, between you and me, told you I'm all pretty very good judge of character. I mean, he helped, but when I look at him, I don't see someone who was doing it for your benefit.
He has
Just
his
a
own
gut
reasons.
feeling. I'll let it stay there." All right, so um, you all get brought out, uh, escorted, no longer manacled or anything, but you're brought out during into these hallways, and there's a fair amount of guards out there, so you just get the feeling like if there had been some attempted escape, you're in a pretty secure area. And then you're brought down a floor, and there's more rooms down there where you see a pretty good setup. I think Nedry would immediately recognize that this is like an arcane lab where you have sort of secure anti magic areas to keep stuff, but then also places where you can like briefly bring something out into a secured area that's not anti magic and everything. So. In that process, does anyone have thoughts like I said, look at all of the weird magical stuff you have. Let's do a little montage of short, like 15-second flashes of you all showing off the cool stuff you've got.
I would certainly take him into the tower
Mm-hmm.
and like make him go through the top door and come out the bottom all
Yeah.
tiny.
Don't forget to feed Buster.
Go back through the door, go back through the door. As Buster comes like barreling.
Yeah. Very nice. I'll offer one of their personnel, like when you start showing the bag of protection, there's actually some urgency when you arrive there, because they say someone actually disappeared in there and they weren't sure how much of an emergency it was yet. It's like, are they okay?
Oh, they should be perfectly preserved in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they would be fed.
And he just kind of reaches in the bag and pulls the person out.
Mm-hmm. That person looks embarrassed. All right. So I think some of the other notable items, certainly, you have the Vidunme deck, the deck of cards that was found.
Doesn't Shorashana have that?
Does she? One
Yeah,
of
she
you
was
still has
working
it
on
on
that
your
with that.
inventory.
Oh, I don't have.
I
It
thought
Oh,
we
could
I
had
have
think
just
that.
been
I think you are
preserved
right.
there
I
for-
do recall that. I believe that you're
Yeah.
right. But yeah, do if you want to keep something on there just for your own like reference, that's one thing. But like, if possible, make it clear so I can look at your inventory and not be confused by stuff like that.
Oh, which inventory do you mean? The spreadsheet or the characters?
I was looking at your D&D Beyond character sheets.
Oh, okay. That's why I marked it as not active. I have it there for reference,
Oh, okay.
just in
Okay.
case, so I don't have to
Yeah.
go digging for it again.
So that's
found
why
this
I
there
was
for
just
you.
trying to be clear.
The
But
circlet is still there too for the
yeah,
same reason.
well, yeah, I was gonna mention that. So yeah, I think
And the mirror, which is also at the
right,
castle.
the
Yeah, the
mirror of
mirror
life
is in the
coming.
castle.
Yeah. So I think they'll probably want to ask about. I think there's plenty to there's plenty to imagine with showing off the tower and the bag, and I think that there is a lot of the people there who are clearly these like magical researchers who are very eager to study these in a lot more detail, but Nelson is basically looks at them and just basically says, "Now I've made a handshake deal with these individuals, and they came in with those they're going to leave with them." And then you get a lot of just looking down at their feet and kicking toes into dirt and everything. Those arcanists that want to study those magical items of their own.
I would kind of like lean over to one. It's like, it's okay. I didn't really have anything interesting anyway. I don't touch that stuff.
I think that there would probably be a moment at when the various conversations they were having to uh, we had established, I believe, and certainly I think we want to just cover it here again here that your changeling nature is not revealed in an anti-magic field, right?
I don't think we'd actually tested it yet, but I think the only thing that can reveal it is like moonbeam spell.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
No.
I think that there will be a moment. No, you know what? Never mind. It wouldn't happen after this, but let's say that during your interrogation, um, he did. He danced around it a little bit, but I'll just say for your sort of own understanding here, he seemed to ask some questions that suggested that he knew. Oh, of course, there's lots of different ways that people use to make themselves look like someone else. But, there are also some ways that, are less common than, than those sorts of disguise magics, disguise self spells. But you'd know about that, wouldn't you?
I know a little bit about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mark that down as asked and answered. And then he kind of just leaves it there a little bit, like giving you the impression
going
that he
to
knows
play
more about it than he's
stupid.
actually asking about, unless you
Yeah,
follow
but
up.
I'm gonna play stupid.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I just want to lay in, though, that I think whatever, even if you didn't confirm or anything, you got the impression that he knows something about that. And then didn't get into it otherwise. So, I think, what with having gone through all of these things and just kind of showing what each of them do. What about the pipe, Zinhorn? Do you
Oh yeah.
do you demonstrate it?
Um, I really need somebody who's been having nightmares to demonstrate it, and then we're going to have a big fight. So if you
Okay.
got somebody that's been having nightmares, we can do the thing. But I'm telling you, like this thing's going to come out and
Well,
try to kill.
I understand, and I don't think that such a thing would happen to me, but sure would be interested in seeing a demonstration. So, would you mind?
Okay, so if there is no nightmare, we're just gonna kind of see a replay of all of your life's greatest hits. Um, all of the best things that have happened to you in your history, or if the spell goes wrong, then it'll like show them, but it'll make them look embarrassing. You cool with that?
Well, hang on. I'm just gonna pull it up. Just remember for my own self how it works. Um, he says, I am. In fact, actually, I am quite curious at what it might show.
Okay, so I will smoke the pipe, um, and he needs to make a DC 16 Wisdom saving throw.
Okay.
I'm gonna hide behind my shield.
Nedry wants to stand beside Protective Versus if he's not wearing it already.
Okay.
That's a,
Uh,
this is assuming he's not infected.
yeah. He succeeds on the wisdom saving throw. Um, so basically, you blow the smoke and tell him to
Right.
inhale, and he does. Although, like several of the other arcanists are like really excited, but also feeling like this is really against protocol, sir. Um, but he breathes it in, and there is no sort of nightmare reaction as you've seen in the other
Right.
instances. Um, but then gradually, um, a lot of the smoke starts making shapes, as you would understand. But the spell to normally work, but you find that a lot of them are not very distinct. Like a lot of them are almost more like when you say a cloud looks like something, and not the sharper image that you kind of understood this spell to usually mean. Um, but as it's showing some very sort of strange little puppet shows almost of the very hazy little figures where it's hard to make out what the details of those stories are. The final one, and the only one where it's more clear, actually shows him shaking hands with all of you just a few minutes ago. And he says, "Well, it appears that your pipe approves of our arrangement."
It certainly appears to be one of your greatest achievements.
Well, I was hoping that it would be, but yeah, yeah. Well, that's a clever little thing. Now, I'll confess, it's a little bit of a relief just to make sure that I don't have whatever this stuff is. But I hope that it will also go some ways towards, you know, demonstrating my own intentions here.
It does for me.
All right, good. So, uh, tell me, are you ready to go, or are you in a position where you need a night's sleep before we go and take a look at this?
Oh, yeah. I need a night's sleep.
Yeah, I figured you might. So, here's the problem. Friend's Castle is not currently in Fashan. So, if you don't mind, we have a nice hotel downtown that I can arrange for you to get some rooms in.
That works for me. Does that work for you guys?
Yeah.
As long as there's a desk.
Yeah, I think we're good. Um, so at this point, he's been in the tower.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you were showing
So
him
he's
around.
right. So he's seen Buster.
Yeah. And I think when he saw it, he was just certainly. I think he probably had more questions about it. What would you tell him? You just the truth that you found him in Gorn, or
Yeah,
okay.
we found him in Gorn. He grew up really fast, and he's bonded to me. And um, my understanding is the last place in uh, on this prime material plane that you want to be is between him and me. Because if he thinks you're a threat, he will attack. And I'm working on like making him I don't know, I guess you would say street legal for being in Pashan, but he needs to get out and get some exercise and like do some hunting. Um,
Go ahead and make an animal handling check right now, just to try to show off your ability to train him to Nelson here.
oh, watch this go horribly wrong. 20.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Well, my goodness, that is a fearsome looking creature, but you do seem to have him at your beck and call, so to speak. And I'll
Uh,
endeavor to not find myself in between you and him.
all right. And just so we're understand, this is a work in progress. There are good days and bad days as far as
Hmm.
any ability for me to control him. I mean,
Sure.
he'll usually do what I want to do, but right now he's being on his best behavior.
Well, it occurs to me that the only place I know of right off the top of my head that is a place where a fearsome creature like him could get a lot of exercise was in the arena. But at the same time, I'm not suggesting that we put him in the show. I'm suggesting that we go there when there's not a show and he can run around and it's a place he won't be able to, get out of and cause damage.
Yep. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind killing a farm animal or two.
Well, it also strikes me though that if your tower can make him little all the time, you just take him to the public park.
Uh, yeah, when he comes back out, he's full size.
You all actually do have the ability to make that happen,
Uh,
but it essentially what you can do is use the tower to reset his sort of default size to the
right.
smaller version. But it is a little bit more of an involved process, and you wouldn't be able to easily make him back normal size without just going through the whole process.
Um,
So I mean, up to you.
yeah. Um, yeah, I would want to take the time to just like get him out in the park and see if, he can find a mouse or something that he can tear to shreds and run around and get some steam out, and I will be running with him.
So I think actually, as we discuss some of these logistics, and you all have found yourself with your weapons and armor returned to you, and you being given a little map and some directions to one of the nearby downtown hotels, and a sealed letter that you're to give to the concierge. Um, I think that's where we're going to go ahead and end tonight's session, as the pocket protectors have found themselves with some changed circumstances. It's a
Do
little
we,
bit.
Friends.
yay, do we get a long rest?
You will for sure, yeah. So we can go ahead and yeah.
I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go into this hotel room and I'm gonna go in the tower.
And then in a tent in the tower, and then climb into that house, that miniature
Yeah.
house.
No, that I don't think that
Then in
works
sleeping bag.
anymore.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
so
I would
well, go
like
ahead.
to say yes. While they're happy with us, we should restock the tower with furniture.
And food.
Preferably something less breakable.
Oh yeah.
Some high bookshelves that tiny little, Buster can't get to.
Mhm, mhm.
I think I'm going to
Yep.
try to get a bookshelf in the bag to make that much safer.
All right, so I think we will leave it there. We can certainly imagine some downtime activities if you all actually want to like imagine that a couple of days might go by. We could figure that out, but we will cover that when we return next time for more adventure on so many levels, and
So
perhaps
So many
So
levels.
many levels.
take a dive into the fungus. We'll see. But good night, everybody.